Hello and welcome to SaltWire today for Thursday, March 23rd. I'm your host, Kate Walker. The province delivered their 2023-24 budget today, and the primary focus is on health care. $6.5 of the $14.2 billion spending plan will go towards their More Health Care Faster plan, reflecting on where the province is today and where it's headed as they work towards an election promise to fix health care. Health care spending accounts for 45% of the budget.
This budget is focused on three main areas: action for health care, a healthy economy, and healthy communities. This budget provides faster access to health services, delivers solutions to build the healthcare workforce, offers improvements for seniors and long-term care, and advances our plan to build more healthcare facilities sooner. This budget makes historic investments in healthcare.
Aside from health, other department increases include $122.2 million towards education and early childhood development, $89.9 million for municipal affairs and housing, and $82.3 million in community services. The government anticipates $14.2 billion in revenues for the fiscal year. Nova Scotians are expected to pay $3.7 billion in personal income tax for the fiscal year, up $448.2 million from last year's estimate. Well, spring may have sprung, but that hasn't stopped a weather system with snow from making its way to us here in Nova Scotia. A blast of winter weather is on tap tonight, but depending on where you are, you could be getting more rain than flurries. Our weather specialist, Alistair Alders, has a provincial timeline for us.
Thanks, Kate. Well, spring may have sprung on Monday evening, but of course, just because it's now officially spring doesn't mean we're completely done with the winter weather, and we have a mix of rain and snow that will be impacting the province tonight into tomorrow. Let's take a look at the weather timeline. This will really break down what you can expect. And precipitation has already started building into the province, transitioning to rain in western Nova Scotia, and we have a rain-snow line that will be setting up over parts of northern and eastern Nova Scotia. That line expected to drape through the Cumberland-Colchester area to the eastern shore. So we will have areas there seeing snow mixing or changing to some rain tonight as the precipitation continues to move east. It moves into Cape Breton tonight too. Cape Breton, though, remains mostly a snow event with this system. Now, it is relatively fast moving as we go overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. The system has cleared most of the province, really. We will still have, though, some lingering bands of snow and flurries persisting throughout the day on our Friday across the north shore of Nova Scotia and into Cape Breton. So let's take a look at the snowfall outlook, and really you can see the highest snowfall amounts will be along parts of the north shore and into Cape Breton. Now, Cape Breton can expect 10 to 20 centimeters of snow. However, in Victoria County into the Sydney area, I'm expecting about 20 to 30 centimeters. That model a bit high for Sydney, expecting about 20 to 30 centimeters there. For the rest of the north and eastern shores, likely about 5 to 15 centimeters before the transition to rain. And then in Hants County, Halifax, a centimeter to maybe 5, especially further inland, and then transitioning to 10 to 20 millimeters of rain, and really not a whole lot of snow for southwestern Nova Scotia, where we can expect 10 to 20 millimeters of rain as well. There will also be a bit of wind with the system from the east and the southeast, gusting generally 30 to 50 kilometers per hour tonight. Winds will shift over to the west and northwest tomorrow and will be stronger behind the system. We will see winds gusting 40 up to 70 kilometers per hour throughout the day on our Friday. So really a mess with this system. Some heavy snow once again for some, but not everyone. And as I mentioned, it will be clearing out for many of us by tomorrow morning. But if you do have travel plans, especially to parts of eastern Nova Scotia, including Cape Breton, do take care tomorrow as road conditions there likely will be quite poor throughout most of the day. And as we head into the weekend, there could be a bit more snow to talk about, and I'll break that down a bit more in our forecast coming up in just a bit. Kate?
And Alistair will be back in the weather section with our regular Halifax forecast tonight into tomorrow. There's controversy on the South Shore over a development that is not sitting well with residents who are worried about the loss of a pristine coastline. A large stone wall is making way for construction, most of which is not welcome. SaltWire's Chris Lambie has the story.
The construction of a large stone retaining wall near a popular South Shore beach is creating waves in Lunenburg County. The wall went up recently just east of Crescent Beach in a spot the locals call Little Crescent. Lucy Hendrickson grew up in the nearby LaHave Islands.
I was pretty shocked. This is a really special beach that the community uses a lot. My family and many families. There's a lot of weddings that have taken place here, celebrations of life.
The wall is over 2 meters tall, more than 100 meters long, and sits close to the high tide mark. Behind it lies a body of water.
I'm not a marine biologist or fish biologist, but I grew up waist deep in it, and it's a fish hatchery. That's where we used to try to catch minnows, and it's a saltwater tidal marsh. And these types of areas, they need to be protected.
The developer couldn't be reached for comment, but locals said there are plans to build 8 vacation cottages on the property behind the seawall. Nova Scotia Environment and Climate Change staff have inspected the site 3 times between February and this week, according to Minister Tim Hallman.
My staff is indicating that there hasn't been a wetland that's been altered, so at this juncture, the approvals have gone forward.
Natural Resources Minister Tory Rushton says his staffers visited the site as recently as Tuesday. They are trying to figure out if the wall is too close to the sea.
Waiting for the report back, but that was one of the things that was being looked at, whether the rock wall does infringe on the high water mark.
A public meeting about the controversial seawall is slated for 3 o'clock Saturday at the Petite Riviere Fire Hall. At Crescent Beach, I'm Chris Lambie for the SaltWire Network.
Next to a nightmare situation for one immigrant family in Antigonish. Shortly after moving from India to take over one of the county's gas stations, a sinkhole collapsed their diesel tank and insurance is refusing to cover geological damage. SaltWire's Aaron Beswick has that story.
A family of Indian immigrants moved to Antigonish County to take over a gas station has been saddled with a big environmental liability through no fault of their own. AJ Palania bought the former Ultramar in West River in September 2020. A year and a half later, a sinkhole collapsed its 15,000-litre diesel tank. While pump trucks were able to remove the vast majority of the fuel, the extent of the contamination remains unknown. The Palania's insurance company refused to cover the damage, stating that while their policy covered equipment failures, it did not cover geological action.
Thereafter, the company with whom I had a contract, Ultramar, they couldn't help me out with it. So eventually, both of us have to terminate the contract, and my business suddenly I lose my business and start losing my hopes because gas was pulling a lot of customer into my store, and so that I can run my business.
While Palania is back selling regular gas from an above-ground tank thanks to support from the company Gulf, he will ultimately need to remove and replace the existing underground infrastructure and clean up whatever diesel leaked. He gets that he's on the hook to replace the gas tanks, but needs a low-interest loan to be able to afford to do so. Despite visits to his MLA's office and various government departments, no help has been forthcoming. This is Aaron Beswick reporting for the SaltWire Network.
It's time now for a glimpse of today's Thinking Out Loud with Sheldon McLeod. Today, Sheldon is speaking with NSTU President Ryan Lutz about the budget and the connection to violence in schools.
We're at the start of a legislative session. The budget's about to be produced later today. What is it that Ryan Lutz and the NSTU would like to see from this government to help support some of the concerns or address some of those concerns?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I think I would love to see in this budget, those cuts reversed. And it's not a massive amount of money. We're talking about, I think the numbers that we had when the cuts were made were 100 teachers in HRM. So conceivably a few hundred teachers, which I get to you or I is a lot of money, but in the system, that's really, kind of a drop in the bucket. And it's not only, it's money that was really well spent. Keeping our schools safe and providing additional resources and supports to kids is, in my view, the best way that we can spend our money. And teachers are feeling, their schools feel different after those cuts.
And for Sheldon's full conversation, head to the opinion section of saltwire.com. Time now for the Atlantic Sports Wire, presented by Scott's Choirs.
The Dalhousie Agricultural Campus Rams held their athletic awards banquet last night and soccer player Alex Cornell was named Male Athlete of the Year, an award he may not have been expecting.
Yeah, I was very honored to be chosen as Male Athlete of the Year. I was honestly kind of surprised because I've only been here for 2 years and only played the one sport, soccer, but I was still very honored to be a part of it and thankful as well. The community here is great, and it's been a great time playing sports here. I'm originally from a little town in eastern Ontario called Kemptville, Ontario, and played soccer my whole life. My father, my dad, Rob, was a big part of my soccer career, and especially growing up, he played a big role. He was coach. He probably coached for close to 15 years, and I was so thankful that made soccer a lasting impression on me. And from some of my first experiences, or my first memories of soccer, was with my grandfather, my Opa. He was a big soccer fan as well. He was also coached my dad, so it kind of runs in the family a little. And anyways, that's my memory. Yeah.
To learn more about Alex's Opa, you can check out the full conversation at saltwire.com and on SaltWire's YouTube channel. In Halifax, I'm Scott Squires for the Atlantic Sports Wire.
Thank you, Scott. On to weather now. To see what's coming up in the forecast, we're going to check back in now with our weather specialist, Alistair Alders.
Hi again, Kate. Well, I mentioned earlier that this will be mainly a rain event for the Halifax area, but there will still be a bit of snow, so we'll be a bit messy tonight. Any leftover snow will be changing over to rain this evening. Before the transition, a slushy 1 to 5 centimeters. The greatest amounts will be further inland, and that will be followed by 10 to 20 millimeters of rain. The temperature this evening will be near 2 degrees, and we'll have east and southeast winds gusting 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Precipitation does clear out by the time you wake up on Friday morning. It will be mainly cloudy in the morning. We'll have fog patches and still a chance of showers or drizzle. And the temperature in the morning will be near 3 degrees, up to 5 degrees tomorrow afternoon, holding on to mainly cloudy skies. Northwest winds, though, 30 to 50 kilometers per hour throughout the day. So we do get rid of this system by tomorrow morning. Relatively fast moving here in Halifax, but as I told you earlier, it will linger for much of Friday for parts of eastern Nova Scotia. So if you do have any travel plans, be sure to keep a very close eye on the forecast. And I told you there could be a bit more snow later this weekend. Saturday looking calm, but some snow could move in on Sunday, although it looks like that could mix with a bit of rain too. Amounts still a bit uncertain, but parts of the province could be looking at another 10 plus centimeters, and we'll nail down those amounts, of course, as it approaches. I'll have another update here for you tomorrow. Kate.
Thank you, Alistair. That's all for now. For more extended video and full online articles, stay tuned to saltwire.com. And you can find us on social media. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.